Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I was about to say open house Thursday.
Yeah.
How you guys doing? My name is Mariah Falabi Brown. Welcome to the show. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
I love the... Oh, is that the stuff you got?
Yeah, so this is what I got from VS Craft. Yes,
nice.
so another thank you.
Oh,
Remember
wow.
the person that sent us our birthday gift. So
nice.
this is mine. I
Lovely.
had to find a way to use it today. I was like, I can't wait till, till next week to wear it. It's really beautiful. She also said she had given us jewelry before, she had gifted us something before, and then again this time. So thank you very much.
Wait,
and I pray
am
that
I missing something?
It was
it's
our
for the
birthday.
Okay.
Yes, I'm her birthday maid, same month.
Oh, you're a birthday maid?
Yes.
That's interesting.
So she's doing amazing, beautiful jewelry, BS Crafts, that's her handle. And we're praying for her business that it goes bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
nice.
it's actually really nice.
Yeah, we'll see presidents' wives and governors and stuff.
Fantastic. How are you doing, Tokwe?
I'm good. Tired, but grateful. So, I was in the Mompha show over the weekend, and surprisingly, Monday morning, somebody called that they are doing a victory party. I'm like, Monday morning. When you have this kind of victory, you will celebrate any day of the week. So apparently they've been in a land tussle for the past 4 years. 1,000 hectares that
That's a lot of land.
young man bought. The guy is less than 40, Debo, and it's been ongoing on how to take ownership. Even there was a life lost on that land in trying to take ownership of the land, but finally they've been able to resolve it. They all signed, and he's gotten ownership of his land. And it just dawned on me that many things are happening. Like, we live in Lagos, Lagos is a bubble, but I've met many successful billionaire farmers that are in their villages, living private life, cashing out, investing money, doing stuff, and it's just so interesting. Like, I was asking myself as I was coming back to Lagos, that why exactly are you in Lagos? Like, do we ask ourselves, like, what are we doing? No, because really, I'm born in Lagos. It's a different thing for me. Mariah was born in Lagos. Her parents are Lagosians, but that's mass. Everybody finish from, you graduate or you finish 7, you carry your portmanteau.
Excuse
I'm
me,
going to Lagos.
Are you talking to me?
No, not necessarily.
Me?
Not necessarily, but just like that's everybody is coming to Lagos. What are you coming to do? Like, there's commerce where you are, in Enugu, in Taraba, everywhere. There are people that are doing sesame seed, exporting it, or pineapple seed. Like, people are doing stuff, but we're coming to Lagos. Let's come and hustle. Nah, please. Just look around you. There are opportunities, and you'll be surprised at what you can achieve where you are.
Is that moving to Mugumosho?
I don't need to move. I don't need to move, but at least now I'm a landlord.
She can't move because she has just shaded people who move with their apartments.
There's opportunity in Lagos, so let me stay, right?
But Lagos can't be a bubble. And even I would love an opportunity to
just try somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
You just drive around and there's no traffic. As in, that's
no, but you know what? It would be nice for me to take you guys to just someday.
I'm telling you, I love it.
Because I have met a lot of people who have lived in Lagos all their lives and have never, ever been to the north. They'll go from Lagos to Abuja, from Lagos to, the UK or wherever, but within Nigeria.
Guilty as charged. I mean, Abuja, I served in Abuja.
Yeah, so.
Now, I worked on Good Ultimate Search and I think Multina Dancehall for some time. So I did work in Kaduna, but just there for like 2-3 days.
Okay.
I was there within set and I was out. So I've done that trip, but I've not really entered the community. So I would definitely like a trip abroad to the north.
And
many things happen.
And on the flip side, most northerners have been different parts of the country.
Yeah. Many northerners are even there. They're more detribalized than many southerners. There are many southerners. I think that's Southwesterners, yes.
The southeast, they are everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest electronics shop in Ubumosho, that I saw all of them were Igbo people, and they're settled there. That's their place. So
like people,
really.
sometimes I just think I love the fact that whenever there's no country in this world that you not find an Igbo man.
Yeah.
That is such a thing of pride. They are industrious and they're doing legitimate work. Yeah. And that's something we should be proud of and celebrate. We don't talk about it,
Enough.
We must.
It.
Yes. You hear, when I do my live, Instagram live, I get calls from one funny country. I'm like, so what's the name of the country again?
Yeah.
He tells me the name of the country. I'm like,
and then he tells me his name.
And I go, oh God, how in the world did you get there? Yes. All these funny countries that you never heard of, but there's always a Nigerian, especially an Igbo man. That's fantastic. It's Wednesday. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, we're going to start with Nigerian Tribune. China loan reps to grill AGF finance minister over sovereignty clause. Mali president, prime minister arrested by soldiers. Makinde demands rearrest of escapee murder suspect. Rumbling in judiciary over seniority, CGN succession intrigues. Dollar scarcity worsens, forces Naira down. Edo PDP presidency trade words over Oshomole's arrest and talk in video. Okay, let's start with the Malian president.
Yeah, so the president of Mali, Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, and the prime minister, Boubou Cissé, were arrested by disgruntled military officers, first in a military base. So the country, people had been protesting and demanding the resignation of the president because of economic woes that the country is going through, security issues with jihadists, just so many communal clashes. Right. And on the back of that, junior military officers arrested, you know, some military, top senior military officers, and then went into this military base where the president and the prime minister were shooting sporadically. You know, obviously an attempted coup. The ECOWAS has stepped in asking for, you know, like peace and brotherly conduct. So we also sent our former president, Goodluck Jonathan, who came back and gave our president some brief. So
part of the briefing he gave the president was that he tried to get some kind of dialogue between the opposition and also the president. But unfortunately, the conversation broke down because ECOWAS was insisting on a democratically designed takeover, so you re-elect a new leader. Right. But they're saying, no, we must overtake. The opposition is insisting that, no, he must step down and he must overtake. So he was trying to make them understand, listen, this thing has been properly done and it can be resolved only through dialogue. But unfortunately, he had to leave the situation because there was nothing else he could be done. And the president said, the president applauded his work and said that they'll continue to talk to ECOWAS and see how they can resolve the situation.
The Malians are on the streets. These are the real Malians.
Yeah, and they are like...
Okay, you're going to talk about one more story?
Yes, I want to take the dollar, the price, the forex...
Dollar scarcity.
Yes, the forex challenge of Nigeria and the dollar scarcity and how Naira now, as of yesterday, Tuesday, was exchanging for 480 Naira per dollar, and then pounds was exchanging for over 600 per pounds, euro was 500 and something, and they're saying this is leading to inflation. Experts in the papers, the Tribune, are asking, what is the CBN doing to stabilize the currency?
Okay, moving on to the nation. So you have a 10 million naira and it's like nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. As in, that's the...
Oh my, you walk, and 10 million naira is like...
It just becomes paper.
Moving on to the nation, this is 774,000 public works jobs. PDP lawmakers reject slots. FG plans 3.1 trillion naira for debt servicing in 2021. President Prime Minister arrested in Mali mutiny. PNID director firms charged with money laundering. Police probe dirty fight between Ohakim and woman. ASO 6 visitation panel for Unilag. Honestly, this dirty fight, I read the story and it's one of those somewhat, I would say, very... this is the former governor of Imo State having issues with, they didn't say ex-girlfriend, but obviously she suggested that they were in a relationship, she's an adult, and there was a 500 million naira that, according to her, he's owing her, and he has refused to pay, and there was this back and forth between her and him. He got her arrested because she was stalking him practically, and the whole thing just got really messy. But I mean, I'm not even sure he made the front page of the papers, but the point is that they are trying to get to get that resolved. Moving on now to Daily Trust. Nigeria's debt servicing to hit 13.5 trillion naira. How 300 naira caused 12 travelers' death in Lagos. Sharia Council urges Ganduje to execute judgment on blasphemy. Investment to developing countries may plunge by 50%. Tributes as Wada Maidat buried in Abuja, and 700,000 jobs APC mom as PDP lawmakers reject 30 slots. Which story are we taking in Daily Trust?
Sharia Council urges Ganduje to execute a judgment on blasphemy. So the Supreme Council of Sharia in Nigeria applauded one of the local Sharia courts for delivering judgment on this gospel singer, Sharif Yahaya, Sharif Aminu, he's the 22 gospel singer, and the allegation is that he said something blasphemous or sang something blasphemous against the prophet in his songs, and he posted it on his WhatsApp or social media, and he's been sentenced. So they're saying that this is, again, in accordance with Islamic law, and people that are calling it different names, they know what the law is, and so what he's done deserves the punishment that he's gotten.
And they suggested that even the human rights groups are trying to appeal to him to upturn it, to pardon this person, and they're saying don't pardon him.
Do not pardon him.
He has been sentenced, and the sentence should be carried out according to the Supreme Court.
So we're getting many of these stories recently, and I wonder if there's a reason. There's so much light that's been shown on these blasphemous acts by people. And
has it always been there, where people get executed without us getting the papers? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying that recently, in the past 3 days, every day there's been stories of, remember the 30-year-old just a few days ago, and the other person
so this is different from the
So this is different from the 13-year-old.
13-year-old is getting 10 years.
Yes,
this one is getting executed. Moving on to The Punch. Loan crisis hits reps panel. Ministry summoned over sovereignty clause. How Lagos boat helmsman caused 12 passengers death, over 300 naira. Man flees after allegedly abducting and raping Lagos fashion designer at gunpoint. Picture here of soldiers arrest embattled Malian president, prime minister, citizens celebrate. Our salary payment platform ready for testing, says ASU. Lawyer detained for 5 months by DSS gets 2 million naira bail. Lawyers compile tribunal records as Diri appeals judgment. Carrington offered me U.S. asylum to escape Abacha's arrest, says Obasanjo. And Britain linked to PNID arraigned on money laundering cases. Okay.
So I have a human interest story.
Right.
So this boat helmsman, Bimbo Alebiju, had caused the death of 12 of his passengers. They boarded his boat, and while on their way to their destination, he had an argument with his passengers. He was insisting that they pay him 1,500 for the journey. They were asking for 1,200. So he turned off the boat, and while they were arguing, a ship sailed past, and the waves caused the boat to capsize. He immediately jumped out of the boat and swam to safety. Meanwhile, his passengers, 10 of them were rescued, and 12 of them died. So he's been paraded for me, definitely a crime. We hear stories about these things where you are supposed to be the last man, on the boat or on a craft. You make sure everyone is safe. And for 300 naira, lives were lost.
Which other story taken in Punch? Fashion designer got raped. Did you have that story?
Yeah, so Mr. Kudus, they say, is on the run. He saw a girl walking home. Sorry, I missed their names now. So she was walking home from work, and he tried to speak to her. She didn't respond to him. He was in a Jeep that was tinted. He got down from the Jeep and threatened her, allegedly with a gun, and asked her to get into the car. And she was taken from Mushin area to Omole, where she was raped several times. Wow. And then she was let go, warned not to say anything or she would be killed. It was her friend that talked about it on social media and asking that the government should do something about it. Okay. Also blaming that the police at Oluson station was sort of complicit because they had talked to them about it.
Okay, let's move on very quickly now to Daily Sun. We're broke, says governors, according to COVID-19 lockdown. States can't pay salaries, meet other obligations. NBA confab, lawyers threaten boycott over choice of El Rufai as speaker. 50 health workers contract coronavirus in Anambra, Kwara. And Fayemi reshuffles cabinet, nominates 7 commissioners, 2 for board positions. Leave Obi out of Obiano, Monarch's feud ex-commissioner.
So apparently the only paper I read was Sun, because I have all the stories in Sun. Major headline was by the health commissioner for health, speaking up in charge of all the other commissioners for health concerning the fact that governments don't have money. The only states that have gotten funding from the expected 2.1 billion support that the federal government had promised states have been Lagos, Ogun, Kano, Jigawa, and the rest are yet to get funding. Dr. Betta Edu is the health commissioner for Cross River State and the chairman of Health Commissioners Health Forum, and she's speaking that it's been tough. Lockdown has reduced the income of states, and now they are begging the government to release the funds so that they can equip hospitals to effectively fight the crisis. Quickly linked to that story is what's happening in Anambra State, where 25 health workers have been confirmed to be COVID positive, about 2 doctors, 8 nurses, and the Commissioner for Health in that state was saying, in a training for trainers that would deploy to health workers, is that this is very sad that health workers are supposed to protect us and are the ones falling prey to the COVID-19 crisis, and the expectation is it might have to do with more knowledge being shared with them, and so the training is ongoing within Anambra State.
Okay, guess that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we discuss the rearrest of Mompha. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So, an internet personality, Ismaila Mustafa, popularly known as Mompha, who is facing a 32 billion naira fraud charge, was rearrested last week by EFCC. According to reports, days after the arrest, he is yet to be arraigned or granted administrative bail, as a matter of fact. He has filed also a 5 million suit against the EFCC for unlawful arrest and detention. Joining us on the show to discuss this and many others is the newly appointed EFCC Zonal Head in Lagos, Abdulrasheed Bawa. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Now you're in Lagos. I know you were in Port Harcourt and Ibadan. But how has it been in Lagos so far?
I'm in Lagos. I'm back home. Lagos is my home. I have worked here previously on 2 different occasions.
Wow. Wow. Fantastic. Now, let's start with Mompha, who was rearrested last week. And now, obviously, he's initiating a suit against the EFCC, saying that he was wrongfully arrested. Could you tell us exactly why he was arrested last week, Friday?
Well, I don't want to say that Mompha was rearrested, but rather I would say that he is arrested for a different matter entirely.
Oh, okay.
As you are aware, we have, it is widely reported that we arrested him in October last year, and in November we charged him to court. That matter is still ongoing, as you said in your introduction. 32 billion naira matter is already before Honorable Justice A.M. Demand. He was arrested again last week for another matter entirely, and we are investigating that, and very soon Nigerians will know about the matter.
Okay, so a lot of people, so it was good that you have just cleared that up, because the story is that he had gone back to pick up his personal effects that were taken from him, and the court had said that since those things were not part of the evidence against him, they should be returned to him. So that arrest, would it have been made if he had not shown up to pick up his items, and that is also
Certainly.
the reason why he's also suing you for 5 million?
Well, certainly he will be arrested. I mean, he will be arrested again because of the facts that are before us, new facts that are before us in respect of his activities. So he was arrested after he came for his items or anywhere else within Nigeria, outside Nigeria, it's a different matter entirely.
Okay, so we've had challenges of people getting arrested and not being arraigned immediately, you know. So
Yes.
now he's been arrested, but he wasn't arraigned immediately. And from what you said the investigation is still ongoing. Since investigations were still ongoing, shouldn't we arrest when we have hardcore evidence against him concerning what is done, so that immediately you arrest him, he goes to court concerning these new charges, as opposed to arresting him and keeping him till you conclude investigations?
Doesn't he have access to bail?
Well, to start with, he has been granted bail. We have started him with bail conditions, and I believe anytime soon once he fulfills the bail conditions, he's going to be released.
Okay.
On the issue of people being charged immediately after being arrested, that is not the case. EFCC is part of our own strategic issue for us to have what we call intelligence-led investigation, in which, of course, facts are being gathered, and before a person is arrested, for him to now speak his own side of the story. But in cases like this, at times we want to hear from that person. And once somebody has given his statement or during the course of the interview, other leads may emerge that the facts that you have before an arrest can be different from the fact that you have, because somebody can come and raise some alibis as well. And those alibis are supposed to be investigated as well, so that we know that we have, a tight case before any court of law that will eventually charge.
Right. Okay, now, so let's setting Mompha aside for a moment, because, I mean, it's good that we have you here. We have so many questions relating to EFCC, Yahoo, here, especially in Lagos. Lots of families have been worried about the fact that boys just get mopped up. Once you have a laptop, you are suspect. So my question, therefore, is, how does EFCC begin to start to identify where to find these boys? And how do you know that you got the right boys? We see this all the time, that EFCC or the police just rams up people together and say they're Yahoo boys.
Well, that's not true. Intelligence gathering, surveillance activities, collaboration with sister agencies within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. That is how we get to know about these cyber criminals. As you are aware, just this Saturday, we went to a short-let apartment in Lekki area, and we arrested 37 Nigerians, including a serving military personnel. On bringing them back to our office, we screened them, we were able to interview them, and we were able to determine that 9 of them are not involved in cyber criminal activities, and they were promptly released. The 28 remaining arrested Nigerians are still, undergoing some certain investigative processes in our office. And once we conclude that, of course, Nigerians will get to know. Of course, we are going to charge them to court. We don't bundle people from our office to the prison, to the correctional services facilities. No, we go to court, we arraign you, we file our own evidences, and of course, we present our case, and then of course, the defendant opened his own defense, through his choosing counsel. And then, of course, the court decides whether or not somebody is guilty or not.
Okay.
So the idea that anybody with a laptop is a suspect, I believe that you have a laptop too. I have a laptop. I have a laptop, but are we cyber criminals? No, we are not. So it is only on the basis of intelligence and, of course, verified intelligence that we tend to arrest and, of course, charge to court.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
So, I'm very curious to find out if it is more, if it is tougher to prosecute cyber crimes and cyber criminals in Nigeria, especially with like high-profile cases. And I want to use this in comparison. We would hear about our Nigerian-based cyber criminals being immediately investigated, arrested, and jailed. But it seems to take longer in Nigeria, or they get in and then they get out. What could be the issue or the problem, or what are we misunderstanding here?
I think that has to do with a lot of challenges that we have with our administration of criminal justice. ADJA has done a lot of wonders, has made a lot of improvement in the administration of criminal justice in Nigeria. If you are familiar with, for instance, I think the provision of Section 396 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, it made provision of adjournment of cases for 14 days, that adjournment should only be taken, in 14 days' time. But that is not possible with the dockets of the judges in this country. Because you will see a judge is having about 1,000 cases in his docket. How is he going to grant 14 days adjournment for each of the cases? It's not possible for him to do that. So we have that challenge. We have a lot of challenge, even though ADJA had come with the provision. I think section, I can't remember the section, that defendants or lawyers should not challenge the charges, but then of course they will come and be challenging the jurisdiction of the court. They will find a way of challenging some of these things, but I think we'll get there. The criminal justice administration in Nigeria is still being worked on, is being improved. We are learning every day in court, and of course, I believe that certain amendments are going to be made to be able to expedite these cases in court.
Right.
Okay, sir. You already highlighted the challenges with the litigation process and how judiciary slows the corruption fight, but there's heavy media
I did
trial.
not say that the judiciary slows the corruption fight. I'm saying that the administration of criminal justice, the laws there, they are there, lawyers are there, they are exploring it, and of course, that is where we find ourselves.
Okay, so it's fast with them. You just said that the judges have a lot of things on their dockets, and so it makes it impossible for them to carry out the 14-day adjournment. But I really don't want us to dwell too much on that. We know the challenges with the judiciary. I want us to talk about the media trial and how extensive media trials takes place before any, before official arraignment of criminals. Like it's all over the media space. How do the newspaper get this information? How do they know the charges that are being worked on? Because we read in the papers detailed information about this person is arrested, what happened, and then there was no case that has been officially instituted against that person, but the person has been painted black in the papers. So from your own perspective, where is the gap? Should the media have information about a case before it is taken to court?
No, maybe we have effective investigative journalists nowadays. Maybe that is where they are having that information. But be it as it may, trials are only happening in court. And that is where we are charging these people, and that is where the court is deciding whether or not they are guilty or not. On the issue of media trial, of course, now EFCC as an organization will have the responsibility to tell Nigerians what we are doing. If people are manipulating that to now sensationalize it, that yes, you have done this, you are guilty, or this, we can see that you are guilty. It's only the court of law that says that you are guilty. And I think the public enlightenment thing that we are doing, people are misconstruing it to be that as if we are trying these people on the pages of newspapers. And of course, Nigerians need to know what we are doing. We are obliged by our act to tell Nigerians what we are doing, and that is what we are doing. Other information are coming. Incidentally, we have had a lot of cases whereby it is the defendant themselves or the suspect themselves that are talking to the media, not the EFCC.
Okay, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we still have our guests with us. Sir, I've been very concerned about this issue of media trial because we find out that quite a number of these cases are not airtight. And then many of these accused or allegations, they get off based on technicalities. So my worry is that it seems as though we get all these hullabaloo on the media pages, and at the end of the day, the person walks free. Or even if he's convicted, gets what maximum. Recently, we had Abdulrasheed Bawa. He was accused of some mismanagement, I believe. Yes. And then 2 months, he was out and was received with a lot of celebration. So the point is that, for me, I worry that the entire process, how airtight is it? Do you really have cases against these people who have stolen the funds of our people?
You are mixing the issues together.
We can't hear you, sir. We can't hear you, sir. I can hardly hear you.
I said you are mixing the issues together.
Okay.
Oyedepo was not
volume.
Okay, we're having trouble getting him connected properly. So once we do that, we can come back. But I mean, it's worrisome. So it's quite worrisome. We get excited about the front pages of the papers. Oh, this person has been arrested, and 2 months later or 3 months later, he walks free.
And we hear mind-boggling figures, and we're like, I'm so happy they've caught this person.
Yes,
and there's some technicalities that the person seems to walk away free.
So that's my major worry. And I wanted to also ask him if he thinks we're actually winning this fight against corruption. I don't know. It's quite worrisome because it's like one second you feel that we're getting somewhere. The next second we feel like we're 2 steps forward, 10 steps backwards. Is how it comes across to the average Nigerian. So we'd really like to have him back
I was also curious about, is EFCC really serving as a deterrent? You know, that's the success. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to just arrest people. Our prisons are full. We're supposed to go beyond just arresting, convicting, and locking them up in jail. We should move towards giving a such show of display of how tough they would suffer, or how they would suffer, so that we would deter others from going in. But it seems like they're not really suffering. So people are saying, if it's 2 months or 3 months,
3 months, I'm done.
let me steal like $1 billion, so that when I go out, I'll return like, and then I do 2 months.
So you don't, that's the worrisome part of it.
Yeah.
And even more worrisome is the fact that younger people, with all these Yahoo boys, they get into these, and they're the ones that end up staying in jail for years without trial. So sometimes, and the people who are who are stealing the big funds, they have an opportunity. They get off the hook easily. Yeah. So that's the perception we have, and I'd like him to really address that for us.
And for me, I also feel that it must be really tough for the EFCC if you're trying to go after this big fish, because they have the resources to get like 10 SANs, you know, and compared to the sort of, I would like to know the sort of lawyers that the EFCC
I'm told our guest is back. Sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm
caliber.
here.
Right, so we've had quite a few questions for you already, but I'm not sure if you got the last one.
Yes, I got the last one.
Right.
I was trying to explain to you our understanding of that. Ojuzo Kalu was not released, or his case was not discharged as a result of media trial. We had a watertight case. We charged him to court. The trial went on for about 12 years. But while the trial was going on, the Federal High Court judge that was handling the matter was elevated to the Court of Appeal. And based on the celebrated provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, he came and concluded the case. But they charged, they appealed the judgment on the grounds that a sitting Court of Appeal judge cannot go and sit as a Federal High Court judge to deliver, and the Supreme Court aligned with them. But we are going back to the High Court to file fresh charges against him, and we will continue the trial, and God willing, justice will be done. That is on that. On the issue of media trial that you are saying about, go and check the statistics. We have 99% success rate on all the cases that we charge to court. So if you are losing 1 and 2 out of 100, you know, at least we have gotten an A based on our actions in court. So we are not seeing it that way. It's not about media trial. It's and let us even be specific. Can you mention a single case regarding this media trial that we are talking about?
Well, there have been quite a few. I know the Evans case, and it's still in court. But
which case?
Evans,
the kidnapper.
The kidnapper. So okay, that's
not our case. It's not an EFCC case. Kidnapping is what the police are doing. It's not an EFCC
You're very correct. It's not EFCC.
But if you are talking about EFCC, I can challenge anybody that we have 99% success rate in court. And it is there. The statistics are there to show for it.
Okay.
So Mariam mentioned something during the banter concerning the caliber of lawyers, and how you also mentioned that Ojuzo Kalu's lawyers were able to say that the courts, you can't be in Court of Appeal and all this stuff, and Supreme Court supported them. The fact that a few allegedly corrupt people are powerful enough to employ 10 SANs, 20 SANs to sort of keep finding a way to slow the process of getting justice, and they find that technicality that would help their client escape. What is the EFCC doing to, what's the caliber of lawyer, number one? What is EFCC doing to empower their lawyers to be able to effectively stand in trial against these big wigs? And how effective has it been?
Well, I'm happy that you mentioned technicalities, not the ingredient of the offense or the facts that we have before the court. I'm happy that you mentioned that. That means we have watertight cases in court. Now, secondly, we have been engaging external lawyers, of course, but generally with due respect to the senior lawyers, in the country, we have a very good young lawyers within the commission that are doing wonders, because it's about criminal litigation, and they have been well trained on that, and they are doing success. They are getting success for us in court. The Ojuzo Kalu case that you mentioned was prosecuted, for us by Mr. Rotimi Jacobs, a senior advocate of Nigeria. So we're working on that. We're working with the senior lawyers as well. They're helping us on some of these cases, as well as our own, internal lawyers.
Right. Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa, I just would like to also find, you definitely, EFCC definitely must have a lot of challenges, but do you believe that there's corruption within?
Come back again, must have what?
A lot of challenges that you're dealing with, but do you believe that corruption can be found within the EFCC, and could that be one of your major challenges?
Well, certainly, we are not angels. We are not angels. There are some bad elements within the system, but they are negligible elements. We are fishing them out. We are charging them to court as well when gotten. We need the help of Nigerians, those that are corrupting them, and those that knows about their acts. Let them, come forward with those information, and you are going to see what we are going to do and what we have been doing with the corrupt element within the system. I believe, majority of Nigerians were Muslims and were Christian as well, and we believe in God. But that is why angels are being sent to this world to preach what is good and what is right.
Let me ask you.
That doesn't mean that everybody is agreeing to that, regardless of an issue of either being corrupt or not being corrupt.
Let me ask you about selective trials. Many people believe, because the average Nigerian feels, listen, if you want corrupt people, they can count them 1, 2, 3, 4, like they're all around us. So they feel that because of the party in power or so, that EFCC is being selective on who they are persecuting or who is being brought forward. Could you say a few things on that? Could you react to that, please?
Well, within the short life of the EFCC, which is just 17 years, we have always been accused of that. When a certain party was in power, we have been accused of selective justice. But we are able to tell them that the party that was in power at the beginning of the life of the EFCC, we are able to investigate serving ministers of the government of that party. We are able to investigate senators. We are able to even investigate Senate President of that party, and they were charged to court and all of that. Now another party is in power. People are still accusing us of that. But then they are not saying that Joshua Darie and the other governor that were convicted, are members of the current governing party or ruling party. People always talk. If it is in your favor, you will not say it. If it is against you, you will be saying it. But EFCC is for Nigeria, it's for all Nigeria. We are striving to do our best based on the mandate that is being given to us to rid this country of economic and financial crimes.
Okay.
There's a particular case that a lot of Nigerians want to know where it's headed, where we are right now, and it is the many allegations against Mrs. Deziani. Please, could you give us a little bit on what is happening with that case? Did she commit these crimes? Have they recovered these things, the things that she's been accused of? Is she by any way going to be extradited? What is happening?
Well, we are working on her extradition through the Central Authority Unit. It has been widely reported that the EFCC have recovered a lot of proceeds of crime from the former Minister of Petroleum Resources and her associates. We have recovered and forfeited about 82 properties belonging to her in Nigeria alone. These properties, the value of these properties are over 80 million United States dollars. We have recovered the sum of $153 million from her associates and from herself as well. All these are forfeited for the benefit of Nigerians. So we are working on that. The matter is still ongoing. We can't say that she is guilty, but we are suspecting that she has committed certain offenses that are within our mandate that we are working on.
So when we hear that she's being protected by international communities, we have this. There's an allegation. There's that out there that she has this diplomatic immunity somewhat. How is that working? So especially with you and international agencies, how are you working seamlessly to ensure that when we have alleged criminals abroad, they can actually be brought home without any glitches?
Well, I don't, she has never been a diplomat, so she will not have diplomatic immunity. I know, I don't want to talk on their behalf, but I believe that law enforcement agencies in the country where she is currently is working on their own case, excuse me, against her, and we are doing also our best here. We have an extradition treaty with them, and we are working to explore that to see that justice is done at the end of the day.
Okay, we have to go on. We have to go. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up at this time. But thank you. We're happy that you're in Lagos, Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa. We'll be calling you often to... Yes. We'll be calling you often to come to the show to give us updates on what's going on, because we're happy that we have access to you now.
You are free. It's a public office.
Very good.
My numbers are available. And come and you can have a further chat.
We'll put your number on speed dial. We'll be calling you soon. Thank you very much. We'll be speaking with the newly appointed zonal head in Lagos, Abdulrasheed Bawa of the EFCC. Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So there's a really, really hot topic out there. Recently signed Company and Allied Matters CAMA contains a section that religious bodies and charity organizations will be strictly regulated by the Registrar-General of the Corporate Affairs Commission CAC and the supervising minister. However, the General Overseer of the Living Faith Ministry, Pastor Bishop Oyedepo, is tackling this act, saying that the church isn't a club, neither should it be mistaken for a company. Now, we'd like to open our phone lines to hear Nigerians' views on this. You can call us on 070-8066-8014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your TVC so we can read the tweet. Now, what's the update on this is that Loretta Onoche, who is actually special advisor to the president, and I think on social media also, was saying, I wanted to quote her exactly what she said. She was saying that the bishop might have to go and manufacture his own country. He says, I hope this is not true. I'm quoting her now. He says, I hope this is not true. If it is, Oyedepo will have to manufacture his own country and live by his own laws. As long as he lives and operates within the entity called Nigeria, he will live by Nigeria's rules and laws. He will do so as he's told by the law. Now, I'm not really, based on this, I'd like to hear your thoughts on your initial thoughts on this, because I'm not really sure the bishop is one to work against the law of the land. He has never come across as that kind of a person. But I think the issue is that clause that says if somebody within CAMA or within the regulators feel that there's a reason for them to investigate a religious body. Now, it's that, for me, that's the contention there. How do you reason that out? What's the reasoning you are applying to say that you're suspecting XYZ church? And I think that's where he's coming from. That's my thought. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on this topic. Go ahead.
It's a very, because of the broad and the fact that it's a really wide gap. Anybody can pick any part of it, and based on an allegation without definite proof, you can decide to dissolve the board of trustees of a church. Is something that is the part that Bishop Oyedepo spoke up against, that the church is a religious body, it's not a company. On that, I agree. However, as a Christian, I've seen some church leaders abuse the power and the reverence that people give to them being a man of God. And so while Bishop Oyedepo can speak for himself and his church as to how the organization is being transparently led while my pastor can say, okay, this is how the church and the board of trustees have a say concerning how the money and everything is being spent, there are many churches that do not have board of trustees, that have only the pastors signing out checks, and such churches need to be regulated. It is the job of a country to protect its citizens, and many of the citizens are members of different religious bodies, and some of the religious bodies, we mustn't be blind to the fact that they have abused the reverence and respect given to them. So I buy into regulation, but I think that this regulation should have been done with the full buy-in of most of the religious leaders, so that we don't have cases like this where it's been signed and it's now coming out that somebody is saying, no, it shouldn't have been signed as this.
There have been suspicious cases of some certain leaders of churches who have mismanaged funds.
Totally.
So that's where the government is coming from. But however, the approach in which they took is what you're saying. Let me hear your thoughts on this, Mariam.
Yes, without wanting to name any churches, there was a particular story we took of a church that had been sort of alleged to have mismanaged funds, claimed to use the funds for charity, but didn't actually use it. And the Nigerian church is fine and good, but the London parish had to be, government stepped in. So sometimes when I hear Pastor Oyedepo speak like that, I'm like, is church only of God here within the Nigerian walls? And how does it happen? Why is it okay for government to step in when that particular parish is outside Nigeria? So we respect the law when we're outside Nigeria, and we do not respect it here, or we do not believe that it should apply to us when it's within the walls of Nigeria. Many people have asked for regulations for the church for many reasons. We do not deny, he even cannot deny the fact that there have been many stories of people of churches who have mismanaged funds. And because of the way that church has been set up through time, we find it hard to bring these people to book. And there has to be a way for people to sort of get justice, even for the churches themselves, for their image. I think if you have nothing to hide, and a board of trustees, the board of trustees come in, it will be important for people to realize that, my church was good in the first place. Secondly, also, I agree with you, maybe the law would be should be more explicit on how they'll do it. It should be a collaborative effort. It can't be people completely unaware of the runnings of the church that will come in. But I do believe that sort of association will be made up of professionals, not just anybody from anywhere will come in and...
No, but if you don't spell it out, because one of the issues he has is the fact that you cannot have a religious body, a church of God, and then a separate body, CAMA, would appoint...
CAMA is the law. CAC is the agency.
CAC as a Corporate Affairs Commission would now say, based on the suspicion of corruption in your organization, which is not, according to him, and the church is not an organization.
Isn't it?
It is sort of. So his opinion is you can now appoint people, and you'll be appointing people that are non-Christians, people that are atheists and all of that, without the sentiments of what the religion ethics supports. So I think that at the end of the day, once again, we have a rule that has good intentions, but the implementation has a lot of loopholes that people can kick against, and we really need to be careful about it. This is something a lot of people want, so we shouldn't put it in a way that
a lot of people have to be careful about that, because a lot of people don't agree that church and state is different. You can't mix both.
So no, Mariah, there should be governance, because there's been so much abuse, and we can't deny it. I read in papers last week about a man of God who made 4 million naira from a family and raped 2 ladies, the children, and helped them procure abortion, and he's a Christian, he's a pastor. There are many cases. The fact that there is 1% bad does not mean that we should overlook the 99% good. I agree. Of course, there are many good people. However, we must have concrete rules that would protect the interests of the members of the church, because they are, and even the Bible says, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. You don't fight Caesar. The world belongs to, there's a policy. Churches should pay whatever income tax on their staff. No, I'm not saying income, on the staff.
Okay,
pay. So the country has laws. You exist within the country. Obey the laws of the country. And if you don't agree with it, protest legally that this law, did you carry us along? We can, the Pentecostal Association, the, what's the Pentecostal Christian Association,
okay.
PFN, Pentecostal Fellowship, yes. And then the Christian Association of Nigeria can come across to do this legally.
What is bothering me is that when we have issues like this, it's only Bishop that's speaking up. Many pastors probably agree with him, but many of them are mom at this time. And he's the only one that is, he's going to be the one to be, you know, Bishop.
Maybe he just has the limelight on him because he's one of the biggest pastors.
Yeah, but you see,
he's pretty vocal.
I think it's time for the churches to come together and
Exactly.
speak.
Okay.
I don't think any pastor, any bishop would be against the government checking through their books or making sure that things are done legally. I doubt if any bishop, any pastor would object that. The issue he's objecting is the power to dissolve the board of trustees. How dare you? A church that you started from, a church that nobody was there. When you were a mushroom church, nobody knew you. As you're now growing bigger, suddenly the government is now looking at you. So the point is that, why would you now have that power to dissolve and now appoint a new a trustee? That, I think, is the contention.
So there's something
If you're registered with the CAC.
Yes.
they have
And the CAC has said, okay, we have this one more law. The only thing now I would say is, in making these laws, why was there not a stakeholders meeting? Because we always do that. It's part of the process where the stakeholders come together before a law is being passed. Were they not invited to this stakeholders meeting? That is one. Yeah. Secondly, but if you're if you're registered with the CAC, then you must expect that that you would follow the laws of the CAC.
But we also have a right to object. Let me take this call. Joshua, thanks for calling. Are you there?
Okay, Morayo, good morning. And my greetings to your colleagues. Straight for me, I hope this government will have the courage to drive this law through and not chicken out. It is absolutely necessary. The church of today is a business, a conglomerate of businesses, right? And they are already in government. That's the problem. Now we have situations where allegations of pastors are being used to launder huge sums of money by politicians out of the country. It is because those churches don't have board of trustees, and one man sits at the top of the church to sign the check or determine the fate of the church. Now, churches have buildings and business entities. Everything now about a church is a business. If they want to revert back to their old structure of not being a business, then they should be acting as a non-profit organization or a non-business organization. For now, churches and politicians are one and the same, and they are operating on the same pedestrian. If they want to separate the church from politics, from money, they should do that. But CAMA law.
Okay, so I remember last year that my pastor had already, we had in our church meeting mentioned the fact that if the churches and the boards do not internally regulate themselves, that is the PFAN and the CAN don't internally regulate itself, they would have laws imposed upon them. And at that time, they launched something called the Christian Financial Accountability Association, which is a self-regulatory association for churches and Christian organizations concerning financial accountability and governance. And they held a meeting in September last year. The fact is, there is need for regulation within the churches. However, I believe the government should work with existing organizations that have done it right. It is wrong to assume that all churches and all pastors are corrupt or they're stealing or they're mismanaging. But if you know that there are some that are working well, who have complied with the law so far, your assignment as a government is not to create a law that would estrange your relationship with these people. Because guess what? The churches are helping the government out. Churches are doing roads. They do hospitals. They are providing food for people on a daily basis. And I know many churches doing that. So it is not for you to say, oh, there are many corrupt churches. churches. It is for you to say, what are the good churches doing? Which is what my pastor did, was like, okay, there are a few good churches that are reputable. This is the system they run. This is how they have a board of trustees. This is who signs the check. This is the influence of what goes on. Can we now deploy this system across other churches to prevent cases of corruption taking place?
Right.
And if they do it successfully, then we can replicate that same process as opposed to saying, CAMA is here, dissolve board.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll open our phone lines and take more tweets. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we had to invite a business analyst, Michael Adeleye, to join this conversation to help us understand if this act is ethical in any way against the churches. Good morning, Mr. Adeleye. Are you there? Hello, Michael Adeleye. Are you there?
I'm here.
Good to have you on the show. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Now, I'd like to hear your views on this. Do you think this act is in any way ethical at all, especially when we say there's a separation between church and state, and the fact that the churches are supposed to be non-profit organizations, they're supposed to be serving the people. Suddenly, the government now wants to begin to probe or begin to look into the books of the churches. Is this right?
Thank you very much, Mariah. You see, this issue or this topic, I totally agree with the first caller. You see, everywhere else except this country, there's always a body that regulates every operating entity. In the United Kingdom, for example, every faith comes under the charity organization where they're being regulated. Now, you have a choice. It's either you come under the charity organization, which is what CAMA now is trying to do, okay, or you set up your church as a limited company so that you can declare your taxes at the end of every year. Now, from what we've seen in this part of the world, churches have now been used. They're meant to be an NGO. They're meant to be a non-government profit-making organization. But the way it is now is an avenue that they use now to siphon money, to get in money from people in millions and hundreds of millions. And nobody regulates. Do you know those money? I'm just saying this because that globally, I'm using global statistics now. Do you know, are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Very clearly, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, because it's very faint. I can't really hear you. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, okay. Now, do you know some of this money, if anything that's got to do with money is not controlled, it could be used to, it could be channeled through different avenues. Corruption, banditry, and all the criminal activities that goes on. Okay? Now, it could lead into sponsoring terrorism and so on and so forth. That is the reason why it's very scary. That's the reason why the government should control what goes on with all these organizations. Nobody controls. Well, we hear about that. People say they have trustees, but who monitors what these trustees do with the assets of all this, especially big churches?
Right.
Okay. I'm a Christian as well, but I totally support the government for putting the eyes into the activities of all the organizations. It's a large, huge, humongous wealth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeleye.
In within all the faith organizations, not just churches alone. Yes. Don't get me wrong, including the mosque as well and other faith organizations as well. So the government needs to begin to regulate.
Thank you, Mr. Adeleye, for that.
Mr. Adeleye, there's a lot of generalization, and we really need to be careful about it. We can't generalize, you know, and we shouldn't generalize, because the fact that they are bad eggs do not mean that they are not good ones. And the fact that there are a few corrupt people doesn't take out a few corrupt churches or a few corrupt NGOs. a few corrupt organizations don't make everybody bad. So when you make statements like they are used to take funds, they are used to fund criminals, that's major generalization for those that have sacrificed their lives to serve people, and many of them serve sacrificially.
Okay, let me take this call from Yakub. Yakub, I'll come to Miriam.
Hello.
Yakub, thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Morayo, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, I'm Miriam.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morayo, I think I totally agree with Mr. Joshua from Irewolide and your resource person that I just finished talking with now. You see, Morayo, not just church, including the mosque, because there is some society in this country today. If you see the ideology that they are passing through to their peoples, they call for all sorts of things that is not even in the Bible and Quran. Now, if government says that, yes, we want to start to control the church, we want to look into your book, if you are a true God of men, that truly called by God of Almighty Allah to this job, you shouldn't be afraid of anything. And then let me tell you this, Morayo, do you know what? All these our pastors, politicians, including some hierarchy of so-called imams, when they go after this country, go to the other country in this world, like UK, United States of America, they always abide by the rules and the regulation of those countries. But when they come back to this country, they will be always tell the Nigerian government that, no, you cannot dare look into our book. But if they go over there, they always abide by the law as Mary.
Thank you very much. Let me come to Miriam because, you see, as I said, I'll keep repeating this. I don't think anybody will be against you looking into their books. The issue is the ability for you to reasonably suspect and then sack the board of trustees. That was, according to Bishop, is going way too far. One thing for you to investigate, but where do you draw the line between you now sacking my board of trustees, an organization that I started? That's, I think, where the contention is. Not so much of you just checking the books
Without conviction.
So for me, that comes from a place of lack of trust. And we know in Nigeria we have a major distrust from many of the agencies. We've seen there are allegations of them using their agencies to perpetrate like a personal vendetta against people. So I believe that the church may have that distrust. Like, could it be a political agenda or vendetta like that? But the truth is, if you can allow your parish that is outside the shores of Nigeria to be regulated, then you should know that it is important that you do the same within your country. But again, I would say that this has to be done, as a collaborative effort. I agree with you, Tokwe. It should not be something that we do to alienate the churches or the NGOs and thereby take away, take away the good that they're already providing to the society.
Yes.
But my question is, why would my first reaction be that of they should come and try it? Like, what are you afraid of? I mean, if your books are good, if you're doing the right thing, first of all, this should be a call to, I will show you how great we are, how well we run our business. Do you understand? So for me, I just feel that...
So it's not just about churches, it's important that it's about NGOs, religious bodies. Because I know this, the Kaduna State Governor recently has said that there are religious leaders within Kaduna that were funding many of these unrests that we're seeing in southern Kaduna. Is part of what this is all about. So I hear the fact that there's suspicion that many religious organizations, many religious leaders are actually funding illegal activities within various regions. So we get that clearly, and I don't think anybody will be against them checking and to ensure to follow the money. But it's just the ability, the power you're giving CAMA.
So we need to know the process of investigation.
So Mariam touched on something very big, and that's the issue many Nigerians have, and that's probably why somebody would speak up with such vehemence, is that we don't trust the system, and we've seen how the system sort of is used to witch hunt or attack people. So that is on one end, where you might feel sincerely that your book is clean, but because they want to catch you, they would find something. And also we must follow through, because in 2014 there was a policy, and gladly we discussed it here, where they told leaders to step down if they've served for a number of years. And that was the time when GO of RCCG stepped down and appointed somebody else on board. But they rescinded that law, and you know, where we had today. So we really need to do more.
Finish, but let's take a few tweets run off.
So Tosin G says, CAMA wants to regulate religious bodies and charity organizations. Absolutely necessary. Why the church is largely against it is a source of concern. The usual practice is that the GOs are usually the sole signatory to church accounts and treat it as personal funds. Mr. Debaya says, if these religious bodies can obey more stricter laws abroad, why not at home? Some pastors are using their position as political opposition to the government on matters that need urgent reforms. Our religious houses are a cesspit of corruption.
One last tweet. Sambak says, you don't control what you don't contribute into. What is the government contributing to churches and mosques? Nothing.
On that note, we end the show. Thank you very much. We continue to have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.